We can't just let the bastards grind us down.
Hey, welcome to the Lean to the Left podcast. You know what? We have no intention of standing quietly by while Donald Trump runs roughshod over our democracy. Now, today we have with us Kelly Hall. She's executive director of the Fairness Project, a leading national ballot measure organization that works at the state level championing change for working families. In fact, the Fairness Project has won 39 campaigns across 20 states to protect abortion rights, raise the minimum wage, expand paid family medical leave, and much, much more. Kelly, thanks so much for joining us today on the Lean to the Left podcast.
My pleasure, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Hey, tell us about the Fairness Project, how it got started, and what you guys do, okay?
Sure. So you said it very accurately. We're a national organization that thinks about citizen-initiated ballot measures all the time. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about all the time. It's often a forgotten process in our democracy, but it's really a powerful tool that we have access to in the majority of states where citizens can collect enough signatures and put a policy that they care about on the ballot for their fellow voters. And if it passes, it has the full effect of a law like it was passed by politicians, or even better, a constitutional amendment in their state. And so we've been around since 2015. We got our start as the brainchild of a really forward-thinking labor union out in California, a healthcare workers union, now really grown and taken the show on the road to nearly 40 different states. And we have worked to support local coalitions on all the issues that you've named, using this really powerful tool of direct democracy to win, even when politicians can't be bothered or simply don't agree with the majority of their constituents.
Thanks for that explanation. I had no idea that there was an organization like the Fairness Project, so I'm really happy to hear about it and to talk to you today, Kelly, about what you guys do. I agree with you. The ballot initiatives are often a forgotten activity when it comes to our voting, and they are really important. That's for sure. So kudos to you guys for what you're doing. Now, why is the work of the Fairness Project especially important today, if it is?
Yeah, I always think it's important, but I would say this is one of the most crucial times, and there are a couple of reasons for that. One
Yeah.
is we're at a time when so many of us on the progressive left, but really across the country, feel incredibly disillusioned with the politicians who have been elected to represent us. That's true
Mhm.
as I look to Washington. It's true as a lot of people look to Washington, but also as folks look at their state capitals, where gerrymandering and the real polarization of our politics means the politicians who are representing us are often quite out of step with our highest priorities as voters and regular people. And so to have a ballot measure process which really empowers voters to go around politicians and say, you guys are out there renaming the Gulf of Mexico. I need to figure out how to afford eggs. I'm going to put a higher minimum wage on the ballot. That is really empowering because it says, I don't need to convince myself that me yelling loud enough or holding my protest sign high enough will change the minds of people who clearly have demonstrated they don't care what I think. I have other tools to improve my life and improve policies that affect working families, and I'm going to use them. And that has never been more necessary than when our disillusionment with politics is at its deepest. And this feels like one of those moments.
Okay. Now, last year you guys were involved in 11 campaigns. What were they about and how did you do?
We won 9 of the 11, which
There you go. That's pretty
that's a
good.
better record than a lot of organizations can
That's
claim.
for damn sure.
We are very privileged to have gotten to work on those 11 campaigns, and they spanned quite a diversity of states, from Florida to Ohio to Alaska to Arizona to Missouri. They're not the typical battleground states that emerge in the red blue fighting over candidate elections. It was a variety of different issues. One of our biggest portfolios of work was around restoring abortion access in places where it had been banned.
Hmm.
And that is an incredibly powerful thing to put on the ballot because no matter what people think about Donald Trump on immigration, on the economy, on his personality, there is so much agreement on the need for common sense abortion access policies, and people agree that total bans have gone too far. And because we were able to proactively put that on the ballot in a place like Missouri, which had had a total ban since the fall of Roe, women are getting abortion care right now in Missouri because we won at the ballot in November of 2024. That's extraordinary. So it's not just a hypothetical, do the voters of Missouri agree with us type of poll. It has already translated into action. And the same is true of the wins we had on minimum wage in Missouri, in Alaska, on paid leave in Nebraska. Already, voters who voted for a raise in Alaska have seen one on January 1st. And so that's not only did we win, gotten to see those policies already implemented just a few short months later, and phenomenally motivating in a time like this when it feels like everything's crashing down.
Just out of curiosity, that the victory of Missouri, what was the margin there?
Oh, about a point.
Really? It was just razor thin.
It was razor thin, but you have to remember how extraordinary that win is in a state like Missouri, which is
Really?
Missouri overwhelmingly voted for Trump.
Hmm.
Missouri was the first state to ban abortion after Dobbs. It had
Hmm.
an effective abortion ban for years prior to that. They had placed so many restrictions on providers and clinics that there were barely any abortion services provided in Missouri, even when federal law said that it was legal. And so, in that environment where we faced stiff opposition, where there had been this entrenched anti abortion movement, even right now in the Missouri legislature, you should see the laws that lawmakers are proposing even after we won at the ballot box. There's a law being proposed right now in Missouri to create a registry of pregnant women. You
Oh my
can't,
God, really?
yes, you cannot make up the sort of handmaid's tale stuff that passes for, how can you even say that out loud
I,
in America in 2025? But that is the environment in the political space in Missouri. So to have won on abortion on a year when Donald Trump swept to victory in that state by an enormous margin is a huge testament to the work of the advocates there and the sophisticated messaging of that campaign.
wow. Okay. Now, tell me about the new ballot measure leadership core that the Fairness Project has launched.
I'm so glad you asked about this because we often get to speak the most about ballot measure campaigns to the extent we do, right in the weeks ahead of an election when folks want to know what will be on the ballot. But that sometimes ignores the years of work in between elections that it takes to get these things on the ballot. And so, what we've done by starting this program called the Ballot Measure Leadership Corps is really invest in the leaders of campaigns from last cycle who we had the privilege of working with, who were super high performing campaign managers, political directors, leaders on these campaigns, and say, we don't want you to just rely on unemployment. We want to invest in your talent. We want to help keep you in the ballot measure space and have you have the resources and the flexibility to help teach lessons learned to the next set of campaign leaders in states that are thinking about doing these citizen initiated measures. We have a lot of that expertise at the Fairness Project, but we're a small team and we want this talent both to seed the next generation of campaigns and then hopefully also stick around in the ballot measure space to lead those campaigns. It's a building the bench type of investment. And so we're really thrilled to have 6 folks who led campaigns in Florida and Nebraska and Arizona and Missouri on our roster of experts that we're working with now and that we hope to keep working with in the future.
Now, I know that you've got something happening in Nebraska. What's that? And tell me about, as it has to do with ending housing discrimination, right?
You're right. So we are hot out of the gates in 2025. We're already working on an off-cycle election in Lincoln, Nebraska. We've had the privilege of working with Nebraska advocates year over year on statewide measures to raise the minimum wage, to expand Medicaid, to end predatory payday lending. So we're really confident in this coalition of activists who have their finger on the pulse of what working families need in Nebraska. And one of the things they've identified is affordable housing and the role that discrimination plays in landlords trying to reject prospective tenants based on the form of income they have. So if you're relying on disability payments, Social Security, Section 8 vouchers, alimony, something other than a salary, it's very easy for landlords to say, no thanks, I'm not going to accept your application for housing. And it
Mhm.
means that some of the folks who are most on the edge of housing insecurity have the hardest time getting the lease even if the housing is affordable to them. And so this policy that prohibits that form of discrimination has already been passed into law in a lot of cities around the country. This just happens to be the first time that advocates are putting it on the ballot. And so we are very proud to be partnering. We hope that will be going in front of voters on May 6th in Lincoln, Nebraska, and it's in the process of getting on the ballot right now.
Cool. What
Yeah.
other initiatives are underway for 2025?
There are not very many states where we get to put stuff on the ballot in the odd number year.
Mhm.
Almost all of these things have to spend the odd number year collecting signatures and qualifying for the ballot so
Mhm.
that then it goes in front of voters in 2026.
Mhm.
So the work we're doing right now is really seeding the ground in most cases for what will be on the ballot in 2026. And that involves working with folks in a wide variety of states to say, what are your priorities? What legal research needs to happen? How can we help you with polling and planning? And most folks will have to start filing those ballot measures and collecting signatures later this spring. And they'll do the bulk of the work, the carrying clipboards, the knocking on doors, the standing outside grocery stores saying, do you want to vote for a higher minimum wage? Do you want to vote for abortion rights? Do you want to vote for paid family leave?
Mhm.
Most of that will happen this year. And that's a really exciting opportunity for a lot of grassroots organizations to do that boots on the ground community organizing, even when there's not candidate elections, even when we're in an off cycle. So it's not just an opportunity for us to go through the motions of doing the process pieces of putting these issues on the ballot. It's
Mhm.
also an opportunity for folks to engage volunteers, for them to be speaking to their community, to make sure that folks aren't just falling into the abyss of doom scrolling. And it really helps people have an opportunity to get engaged. And that work will really begin in earnest on the ground once it starts to warm up in a few more of these places.
Cool. All right. Now, you mentioned a little while ago that you have a small team there. Tell me about your team.
Oh, we are a small but mighty team. We are only 11 people. And so to have such a high impact with such a lean team is a testament to my crew. I would love to spend hours and hours just calling them all out by name and singing their praises because we've been able to collect talent from around the country. We're fully remote. We've got folks in Texas and Oregon and Florida and New York and Virginia, and we're all veterans of campaigns in some form or fashion who have said, I want to be part of building something broader, cycle over cycle. I don't want to move just from campaign to campaign in a perpetual cycle of burnout. And I'm really inspired by the issues that brought me into politics, but not so much the working for individual candidates anymore. I see this theory of change, of bringing issues specifically to the ballot to be the most inspiring work I can find in the landscape. And we have a set of campaigners that each have a region of the country that they support. They work hand in hand, day in, day out with advocates on the ground and campaign managers to say, you guys are the experts in your communities, you guys are the experts in your issues. We're the team of folks that have really figured out how to wield this tool of ballot measures effectively. And so we are a not for profit, free set of consultants, experts, funders who come and partner hand in glove with the folks on the ground and say, you do what you do best. You don't need to learn all the campaign finance rules. You don't need to run an abortion clinic and also know how to manage a TV vendor. We
Right.
can partner collectively together to do that.
Okay. These are all full-time people, right? This
Yes.
is
Yeah, we do not size up and size down. We've got a crew of people that's been with us for several cycles, and they all work for us full time.
very cool. All right. Who is behind the Fairness Project?
I mentioned some of our fairy godmothers who founded the Fairness Project, which is a labor union in California called United Healthcare Workers West. And I love to shout them out, even though they continue to support us with their dues, but they are a very small minority of our funding at this point because their vision and their annual vision for saying, I want to take money out of my dues that I pay to the union every year
Hmm.
and make sure that we are a working people's organization, not just a labor union, is really inspiring. So we're very privileged to have the support from working people themselves who are investing in the vision of a working people's advocacy organization and a vision like ours, where it's the people doing the work for themselves to make change. And then we also do a lot of time fundraising small, medium, and large donations from folks around the country who are politically activated, they're motivated, they want to see change, but they wonder if placing all their eggs in the basket of politicians is the right strategy to do that. And so I encourage people, yes, vote for candidates. Yes, support your local political parties, activism, however you want. And hedge your bets. Let's put
Right.
minimum wage on the ballot because in Democratic administrations, Republican ones, the federal minimum wage, still 7.25. Still don't have any paid sick leave or paid family leave in this country. Still don't have an approach to protecting abortion rights nationwide. We really need to be doing a chewing gum and walking at the same time approach, and we can make real change at the local and state level while people continue to push for a more cohesive political vision. So we do a lot of fundraising around the country from grassroots donors and others.
I was going to ask you about your fundraising and where your support generally comes from. So I gather that you're not out there looking for support from the oligarchs of the world.
If they want a vision for how to
You'll take
distribute
their
their
money.
wealth, I am happy to play Robin Hood. I am always happy to play Robin Hood, and I, with some exceptions, I'm happy
Uh-huh.
to accept contributions from anybody. But by and large,
Uh-huh.
that's not the strategy most folks
Yeah.
who label an oligarch are taking.
Are you getting support from Elon Musk?
We are not. We generally do not disclose our donors, but that's one I can say very affirmatively we are not. Yeah.
What'd you think about the episode with the chainsaw? Do you
Which
know what?
chainsaw?
Oh, you don't
No,
know what I'm talking about?
no.
Oh, all right. Elon Musk appeared on the stage of CPAC with a big bright red chainsaw that somebody gave him. President of some right-wing country, I don't know who it was. Anyway, he gave him this chainsaw and he waved it around and said that's what he was going to do to the federal government.
No, rather than giving more of my attention to Elon Musk, I'm the daughter of a political scientist. I was raised on a religion of government when it's working well is where we come together to solve our collective problems.
Hmm.
And the attitude that we're just going to rip the government to shreds,
Hmm.
whether it's a chainsaw, whether you're saying I'm putting USAID into a wood chipper,
Hmm.
it's the sort of rejection that we want to collectively come together and solve our problems that is even more upsetting to me than the idea of any one program being ripped apart or any one cut, because there is an attitude that underlies that chainsaw or wood chipper approach that is
Yeah.
not actually oriented towards making government work better or improving people's lives or solving collective problems, but is a person who society and the system as it is has served him very well. And it's the sort of most egregious form of pulling the ladder up behind him that we can see. And it's if that's not going to be the place where we solve our collective problems, if Congress is not going to be the place, if the halls of government in Washington are not going to be the place, then we need to find other places. And I feel grateful to be situated in an organization that is at least shining a light on one of those other places that we can use to solve collective problems. And it's good, even as people are doing a lot of defensive work and trying to keep folks from tearing everything to the ground, that we have opportunities where we can go on offense and say, yes, we're going to pass paid sick leave. Yes, we're going to protect abortion rights. Yes, we're going to expand healthcare and do things affirmatively, because this just tearing everything to the ground is, it's not just irresponsible, it strikes at the fabric of are we still community oriented?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think we have some tough times ahead of over the next couple of years for sure.
We do, but if we only think these are dark times and hibernate in dark times, we lose our muscles atrophy. You know,
Right.
we've got to keep putting one foot in front of the other and reminding ourselves, what do we think we should be doing in the political sphere, not just feeling despair at what others are doing in the political sphere. So I
Yeah.
appreciate having the opportunity to be a voice to those who are like, I don't know at all what to do. How much can calling my member of Congress actually do? There are other tools locally at the state level. Come with us, do work to advance policies in your community, reach out to us about what you want to see on the ballot, help fuel our movement. I wish we could do statewide ballot measures in every state. Unfortunately, not every state constitution allows it, but there are a ton of things that we can do together, and we can't just let the bastards grind us down.
I really like what you just said. All right. What's ahead for the Fairness Project? I know you said that this year you guys are, it's a odd number of years, so you're working on preparations for 2026. But what's ahead? What do you have coming up?
There are still six states with total or near total abortion bans where we can do citizen initiated ballot measures. So that is on the horizon for us both this cycle and potentially into future cycles. Abortion
Mhm.
is not going away as an issue we need to work on.
Right.
I'm also really inspired by how many people during the last presidential election elevated policies in what Kamala Harris called the care economy as being super high priorities: paid family leave, child tax credits, affordable child care. It is too expensive to be a working family right now, whether that's because you're not getting paid enough, whether inflation is too high, whether the costs of just running a family are too expensive. And there are things we can do about that. And we've seen these policies succeed on the ballot before. We'd love to take them much more broadly in the upcoming cycle. And so a lot of our conversations with advocates on the ground right now are about saying, we're not going to see those policies advance at the federal level as we hoped. Let's dust them off the shelf, put them on the ballot at the state level. And my hope is that the next time we talk, we'll have a robust portfolio of those policies in a set of states to be celebrating.
Okay, great. Have you got anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. Just a sincere thank you, and thank you for getting the word out about different ways that those of us who consider ourselves progressives can be continuing to engage even in, as you put it, dark times.
Thank you so much. Hey guys, I'm Bob Gaddy, founder and host of Lean to the Left. I'm excited to share our new book, Hijack Nation, Donald Trump's Attack on America's Greatness, co-authored with political analyst and professor C.J. Waldron. In Hijack Nation, we delve into the unfolding story of America's political landscape through a series of essays from leantotheleft.net. We explore how Donald Trump's presidency has transformed American politics, challenging our values and institutions. Hijack Nation isn't just a book, it's a call to action. It invites you to reflect on what it means to be American in a divided political landscape. Together we can reclaim our nation's greatness. So get your copy of Hijack Nation today. Visit leantotheleft.net and click on the Books tab to learn more and to order.